You ever see someone slap a violation notice on a wheelchair? Like it's a parking ticket on a rusty truck. Yeah, that happened to my wife Linda right on our front porch, middle of a Wednesday sunout. Birds chirping, and the local HOA queen herself, strutting up in her powder blue tracksuit, like she owned every square inch of Pine Oak Estates. The notice stuck right on the armrest of Linda's chair. Her lifeline, her badge of survival after all she's been through. And if you think that slowed her down, you clearly never met a retired Army colonel who's fought tougher battles than any HOA president could even dream up. I tell you, if there's one thing Linda's got in spades, it's grit. She's got this way of looking at people steady and unblinking, and the kind of quiet authority that makes even the mailman stand up straighter. She'd rolled out with a book and a vanilla cone, just looking to enjoy the afternoon. But instead, she got hit with HOA drama and a so-called visual violation for the ramp she'd paid for herself and installed by a bunch of veterans she used to command. And if that wasn't enough, the flags by our door. One for the country, one for her old unit, apparently made the place look hostile to the likes of Pamela, our neighborhood's self-appointed ruler. Pam didn't even try to hide her disdain, waving around some printouts and legal jargon, acting like she'd caught us running a casino out of the garage. I'm standing there with grass clippings still stuck to my shoes, towel around my neck, trying not to lose it. But Linda, she just smiles that little half smile and says, "We'll handle this the military way." That's code for buckle up, it's about to get interesting. So we get to work. Linda, she pulls up the HOA bylaws, flips through every clause, every byline. Starts making notes. 17 inconsistencies. Just like that. I wanted to march down to Pam's place and give her a piece of my mind. But Linda, she's all about precision, patience. She says you win these things with your head, not your mouth. That's Linda for you. But Pam doesn't let up. 2 days later, she calls the cops on us. Not kidding. Says Linda's flags make her feel threatened. Claims Linda's using her military status to intimidate the community, which honestly is about as upside down as you can get. The police show up, 3 of them. Hands on their belts, ready for who knows what, until one recognizes Linda from years back when she was his commanding officer. Suddenly, the whole energy shifts. He stands up straighter, calls her ma'am, and tells Pam, this is harassment, plain and simple. Linda just sits there, that same calm look on her face, never giving Pam the satisfaction of seeing her rattled. You want to talk about escalation? Pam sends a compliance crew to our house, a bunch of guys in reflective vests rolling up in a van, acting like they're about to tear down a meth lab instead of a wheelchair ramp. I roll up from the grocery store and see them mid-action bolt cutters out. Linda's already on the porch phone recording, and she hands them a copy of the restraining order we'd filed after the last stunt. The crew looks at each other, mutters something about bad jobs, and disappears faster than you can say. ADA violation. Let me tell you, watching grown men back down from my wife in a wheelchair, that was a sight. But here's the twist. Turns out Pam never really got elected HOA president. She kind of just slid in during a board shuffle, never had an official vote, never filed the paperwork. Linda uncovers all this while digging through HOA minutes and financials, and she starts piecing together a pattern of bogus fines, sketchy purchases at Pam's house, getting new landscaping, courtesy of community fund, stuff like that. Linda doesn't just sit on it either. She files formal complaints with the city, the state, the VA, and sends everything to a local reporter who's got a nose for HOA corruption. Pam tries to fight back, spreads rumors, hands out flyers accusing Linda of faking her injury. For sympathy, even says she never really served. That's when things really blow up. Former generals, and even a state senator, post public endorsements for Linda, and suddenly Pam's support is crumbling. Right about then, Linda decides it's time for a change. She organizes a community potluck right on our lawn. Flags flying, kids running wild, neighbors actually talking for the first time in ages. Even the city councilman drops by to thank her for standing up to small-town tyranny, which, if you ask me, is the perfect phrase for what we'd been living under. You could see it on Pam's face, watching from her window, powerless for the first time in years. Then comes the big board meeting. The room's packed, veterans and neighbors, all backing Linda and Pam, trying to keep control. But Linda calls her out in front of everyone. For the minutes showing her appointment, asks who actually voted, and nobody can answer. Linda hands out highlighted copies of the bylaws, the county's letter about putting the HOA under review, and for the first time, the whole board turns against Pam. They suspend her on the spot, and the applause that breaks out is the real kind, not polite clapping. Feels like fresh air after years of holding your breath. But that's not the real ending. Pam, desperate, sneaks into the park late one night to rip out the new flagpole Linda had put up in honor of veterans, gets caught on security cam, arrested for vandalism, and her house goes up for foreclosure. Guess who buys it? A non-profit for veteran housing. The new neighbor, a retired Marine with a flag already out front, shows up on moving day and hands Linda a plaque. Freedom is earned, peace is shared. She hangs it above her desk, right next to the framed letter, where Pam once called her the wheelchair warlord. Linda laughs and says, "She got that part right, just didn't know what kind of war she started. Now the neighborhood's changed. People wave again. Nobody's afraid to speak up. Ramps go up instead of coming down. And Linda, she's running monthly meetings, listening more than she talks, making sure nobody else ever has to fight for basic dignity on their own porch again. The park's even been renamed for her Colonel Connolly Park. She didn't ask for it, but sometimes you don't get to choose how you make a difference. You just do what's right, and let the rest take care of itself." So here's my question for you. Have you ever seen power used the wrong way, or watched someone turn things around by showing up? When it mattered, drop your stories in the comments. Let's talk about what justice and real community actually mean. Because if Linda's taught me anything, it's that dignity isn't something you fight for once and forget about. It's a battle worth showing up for every single day.